That's how we do it. Hey everyone, Tracy Cousineau here with one of my favorite people, mentors, coaches, and good friend, Jon Cheplak. And Jon is the keynote speaker on day one. You do not want to miss it. He is going to show up like he always does, like giving and pouring into you and pouring into you. But you know what? And it's all truthful. There is no sugarcoating. Him and I get along so well. Like I listen to everything he says because he's like me. He doesn't sprinkle little stuff on top of cupcakes. Like it's the cupcake. You don't even get the frosting. Like here's the cupcake. If you want to know how to get to B, C, and all the way to Z, here's the recipe for the cupcake. You don't need all that other BS on top of it, right? That's the main ingredient. The other crap's not the main ingredient. The cupcake's the main ingredient. So you bring it to the table. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear from you on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Tracy. It's a privilege. I think the first thing I want to share with everyone as you're listening, and not just from what I'm going to share with you that I'm going to bring, it was a discovery that I had, and I'm going to share us over to my personal page right now, so that we're over there. Good. All right. We're on my personal page now too.
Perfect.
But there's something I want y'all to hear. Okay. Actually, and this is why it's so important for you to be at this event. Tracy and I looked at the rest of the lineup, which it's just a privilege for me to be from Satema to Ryan Stewman to Brittany to Keith Pike, and the list goes on and on and on. And I don't want to leave anyone out, but there's an interesting thing, and I'll go back to Tracy and myself, who've run the same circles for years and years and years. We're lifelong learners. Our relationships, why we get the privilege to, you look at a business that Tracy has built, is because she's constantly been a lifelong learner. There's two things I really want you to capture in looking at this event and in making the choice. If you're on the fence or maybe this is the first time that you're hearing about the event, is number one, being a lifelong learner. Now, number two, you take a look at this event, it's contribution. If you look at the entire lineup, period, you look at mine and Tracy's relationship, mine and Ryan's and Keith Pike's and Brittany, we are all lifelong learners. Tracy and I mean, we all travel around. You know what? I go into Las Vegas 4 or 5 years ago into War Room, one of the elite masterminds in the business, and I'm sitting there, and there's Tracy. I didn't know Tracy was going to be there. She didn't know I was going to be there. I'm living in Vegas at the time. She lives in Atlanta, and that's how it happens. And we take a look at someone like Tracy, who's built an amazing business, and then gets to, like she's doing today, but she does it internally inside her business and then doing it out to the community. The only reason that she's able to do this, not the only, but the biggest reason, the foundational reason, and for every single one of these speakers that, the lineup's ridiculous, is because of that commitment to being a lifelong learner, period. And it may look sexy flying around and going to events and taking pictures with their friends, but there's work that goes into it. So the first thing I want you to really think about as you look at coming to this event, or if you're considering coming to the event, is this is what elite performers do. And elite performance, by the way, is not something that you can't attain. It's not something that's not relatable. It's very relatable, because an elite performer is someone that creates the life that they desire. Tracy's running her race. Keith's running his race. Satema, Ryan, we're all running our own race. But the race that we're running is to perform at an elite level. And part of that is, first, show up, be there, period. Number two is take in the information. Here's what I'm going to do. I get 2 opportunities, and plus there's a VIP lunch, and I don't know if Tracy has any seats left, but an opportunity to sit down too, because you can hear a message, but I've always liked to sit down and connect and understand even more so underneath that speaker, that trainer, that teacher. But the first thing that I'm going to do in the morning as I come as the keynote is I'm going to go deep into actually The simple solving the complex, the tiny hinges that swing big doors. If you look over time, sure, we'll talk about the principles of consistency. We'll talk about the principles of contribution. But then we start taking a look at, okay, how do I get more eyeballs? We're all in an eyeball game. We are all in an enrollment game. Okay. I'm in a business where I enroll people into my business to work with me. Tracy enrolls people to do business with her. If you sell real estate, you are in the enrollment business. And so the critical thing that I'm going to express to you, and I know every single one of these speakers, when they go across the stage, they're going to share with you, how do you, and this is where I'm going to really drill down in its simplest form in the real estate business. And fortunately for me, I get the privilege of doing 100 phone calls a week with Tracy and her peers. So I'm seeing real time what they're doing. And what I'm going to share with you is, how do you message to the market? How do you message to the market? Because there's so much of this one size fits all, unfortunately, in the real estate industry. And you try to be all things to all people. You're nothing to no one. And I know it's an old quote, but watch this. It's very congruent with the failure and success rate in the business. See, what I'm going to talk to you about is, you look at the real estate business and most marketing. Everyone's going one direction, or everyone starts going a direction, and okay, the herd follows. But a Tracy doesn't follow. Now you go outside the real estate business. A Ryan Stewman doesn't follow. In his industry, they go down the same path. Ryan has created, sure, we mastermind and we get ideas, but ultimately staying true to ourselves. And that's what I want you to do, is to understand, if you can come forward, okay, consistently with messaging, with the right vehicles, which I'll share with you. They're pretty simple. They're ones you've probably heard before, but you know what's very interesting, and many people say it to me, I heard you say the same thing over and over again. I always say, I do, don't I? And you know what? You've mastered
Have you heard it yet?
Yeah, right. Have you heard it yet?
Have you heard it though? You might have heard it. Have you heard it?
Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is, because I want you to think about this. Every choice that people make is based on the words they hear and the words they read. And Tracy and I, it's ironic that I come to this live with you. The actual room that Tracy and I sat in for 2 or 3 days was purely on words, with one of the best copywriters on the planet, period, hands down. It was us learning.
You said, listen. So I hope everybody went like that, because that was one of the words. I'm like, you said, listen. I'm like, what? Because there are messages. There is a message to market. You're completely right. Like, I drive down the road and there's billboards down every road, right? And the way that my mind is programmed, I'm like, they should just put that money in the toilet and flush it, because there is no message to market. Man, if I could just call them. So guess what I did? Opened up another company called Unsilence Your Brand, so that we can start helping these brands know what their message to market is. Because I'm just like, your billboard is not going to bring you return. Yeah. The billboard company is not a marketing company and does not know. They're just getting the sale off that billboard. And I know personally the billboards are expensive. So if it says that you're a top agent and you sell homes, that's great. That's all ego. That's not selling anything for you. If you're getting on a shopping cart at your local grocery store, they're going to draw Sharpie mustaches on you. Believe me, I did that in 1999. Like, stop. If you really want to know how to market, bring your market, the message that you really need to bring it. You need to be there to listen to Jon, because he's got the tips and the tools for free at this event that you're going to be able to go back and utilize right now. And it's not just in the real estate space. If you have multiple businesses, you're going to be able to take this message to market, where whatever industry you're in, and listen.
And listen. That's right. Yeah, it's and it comes from, I've got some great examples when you take a look at business. I've got a client I'm working with. It's on the way to 3 million GCI. And guess what? When you hear, and here's what I want to share with you too, because we're not just looking, what's exciting for us is to, in what we do and what Tracy's doing in her business, is to find that person that wants to change and build them up. And
Yep.
maybe that person that's doing good and create greatness. So maybe that person's doing good, but they don't have the time. And Tracy's ability as a leader, and bringing this together too, on top of it to give you value, is an opportunity to get that back, or to get what you don't have. We all wake up in Escape and Arrival. Our old buddy Frank Kern. That's where I got that one from. Escape and
Yes.
Arrival. And Frank got that from someone. We know how that goes.
Yep.
But that's the opportunity. We look at time, you look at money, and you look at a lot of the same old things that everyone is doing. And then here's the bad news: is if you keep doing what everyone else is doing, we'll just work harder. Well, listen, work hard is expected. Okay. But guess what? And then you go to, okay, we'll work smarter. Well, let me get underneath that. Be more sophisticated. Be more sophisticated. And that's a key part of the message that I want to get to you too. Like, listen, the first thing is you got to take action. Okay. And like I was telling you, I've got this one client, she do 3 million GCI and maybe spend $250,000 in marketing. Well, okay, I'm going to do exactly what you're doing. Well, and you know what's so funny? It's like, Tracy, I'm sure people copy you all the time. Well, how come it didn't work for me? Well, because you didn't do the work underneath it, the foundational work. People think that you can just grab Tracy's post. Well, I watched Tracy's post blow up, and Tracy even told us that it did really well for her. Tracy also told you the years and years and years of deposits that she's made, of contributions she's made. So there's two things in this messaging part. You've got to get your message right. But watch this though, too, on the flip side. You can get your message maybe off a little bit, but if the intention of contribution is there, and then you come back and show up as you are, and you are consistent, no one's going to come out of the gates with their message bang on. But I'm going to tell you what, the person that comes from a space of contributing, of giving value, and staying consistent, experience is going to, repetitions. You look at a pro baseball player, they go into the Hall of Fame. It's automatic. If you have a long career, you're going into the Hall of Fame if you fail 2 out of 3 times at the plate. If you fail 2 out of 3 times. And so, like, 1 out of 3 times, they've got to get a hit. They've got to get up on base. They've got to contribute. Okay. And here's the challenge too with it. We're going to give you the strategies and the tactics and the messaging that really, really works. But Tracy, as a leader of an organization and developing high performing real estate agents, along with the amazing career that she's done, you can't just go up the bat once and expect us to fix it. You've got to have at bats. And that's the piece that you need, because if you get what you're going to gather from this, the messaging and the vehicles to use. And then the second part of my message, because I wrap it up, I think in the afternoon, is around accountability and looking really, really closely at that, because accountability, though, that part, my session will be worthless to you if you don't take action. And here's what I know we all want to take action. We really, really do. But what you're going to find in my second session is where I take you underneath, first of all, a whole new experience around accountability. I'd share this with everyone, is that high performers, and high performance, again, doesn't mean I own a jet, on a yacht. High performance is having the whole life that you desire. What we do is we move towards accountability, because accountability is truth. And we can't continue to grow if we don't get truth, because without truth, you don't get measurement. Without measurement, you can't then look at maybe where there's a hole in skill sets. The thing is, we look at these rooms that we go in and the friends that we have. It's pretty interesting. We don't really even have to hold each other accountable, because it's understood.
Well, and nobody shows up with excuses.
Oh,
And that's what I love the most. Like, I could write the book on excuses that I've heard over my leadership term. And I'm just like, wow, okay. You didn't see everything I did in the grind and the no sleep and the hustle and being at the office till 5 o'clock in the morning, going home, sleeping for an hour, getting up and doing it all over for years. You didn't see the back-to-back 9 to 10 appointments in one day, hustling from the moment my eyes woke up to the time that it was dark and y'all were probably already sleeping. Missed all that part. You know, I woke up in November of 2011 with $156 in my checking account and a single mom of 3 kids, no house, no cars. Come on. I'm hustling. Nobody handed over a buffet of money for me. I've grinded. I've hustled. I've earned every penny. Nobody handed me a loan. Nobody came over with a pizza and said, here, feed your family. We were eating ramen noodles from the dollar store. There's a story behind every very successful leader because they didn't want to go back to where they came from. There are 2 types of entrepreneurs. I'm coming from the entrepreneur that wasn't handed a loan or wasn't handed a silver platter or mom and dad's company before. Now my children might, and that's a whole nother story. However, I show up and I'm going to, you know, and that's really what it's about. There are no excuses. I don't have any excuses to give because I'm not going to live by an excuse of, oh, I got to go do this or this. You know, if you've watched my journey in the last couple months, you're seeing I've been out of town a lot. Let me just tell you, there were only 2 trips that I've been to that were personal trips. One was in Cabo, however, with a very dear friend of mine, and we were talking about work because we work together on projects. The other one was Major League Baseball bucket list, knocking out these stadiums again with my dear friend, knocking out, you know, really journaling it all. So really there was work involved into it. I had, you know, I had Christy Moore meet me. She's a top leader in real estate in DC. And so we were still working. When you see me out of town, believe me, I'm in a mastermind. I'm in a room with John and Stuman and lots of people that are speaking on the stage because when I leave, I'm leaving a better person than I got there because every day I want to wake up being better than I was the day before. And if I don't, I'm going back to bed for a few minutes and I'm going to start my day all over again because I'm not waking up that day. I refuse to allow it. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, that person I was like 5-10 years ago is starting to come out. Bite your tongue, go back and walk back through that door, the person that you were supposed to show up as, because you don't allow it. So don't allow the excuses. Don't allow that I got to go do this that day or I got to do this that day, because I can promise you, we all learned how to make those changes in 2020 during COVID, and we didn't have any excuses to give. We all showed up the way that we needed to. We didn't have time to think of an excuse. You just did it. So I am telling you, if you want to elevate, because that's what we're talking about, everything that we just talked about for the last few minutes has been about elevating yourself, elevating the people around you so that you can elevate your lifestyle, your business and your personal lifestyle. No excuses, folks. Elevate Live 2021 because there's a lot to learn.
Can't wait. I'm stoked to be there, Tracy, and stoked to see all the people there. And, you know, what I close with this is that, and I get the privilege, you know, anytime anyone asks me to come out and speak a lot of events, I can't tell anyone here the last time I was in an event with this level of speakers across the board, period. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So
I can't wait. Have a good rest of your Sunday. I will actually see you online in a few more hours.
I'll see you there.
I'll see you there. Talk soon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.